But yeah, cheers. Good to meet y'all. I'm happy to be here.
Yes.
You too.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for having us.
All right, Mike here with that'sgoodenough.me.com. And we're doing our Who's Zooming Who series. I'm with Freezepop. How are you guys doing?
Yay.
Great.
Great.
So good. Thriving.
Pretty good. Good week.
Now, Liz, the positive thing I saw when you came on was your warehouse behind you. I'd like to talk about the new release, and it's behind you. So yeah, Fantasizer came out last week, 2 weeks ago.
Last week.
Last week. Okay. Fantastic record. It came from a Kickstarter. I wanted to talk about just the general production of the record, how long you had been writing it, et cetera, et cetera. Liz,
How long
I'll
is
let
your
you.
show?
We have this room for 23 hours.
It'll take about that long to we sort of, when we toured the last album, Imaginary Friends, we were kind of touring that on and off for a couple of years. And I think we kind of formed an idea, just listening to music together, we started to kind of form an idea of what we wanted to do. But that didn't really work out to be what it ended up being. But we started demos, I guess, about like a year and a half before we did the Kickstarter. Like 2014, I had a big batch of demos, like a big batch of demos. It was 60, 70 tunes by the end of the year. But yeah, it didn't. Those songs didn't go the way we thought. So we thought we had plenty of material to start the Kickstarter because we were like, oh, we have so much stuff done. Like, well, how could this ever go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and I remember when we were doing the Kickstarter, we were like, check it out. Like, we have so many songs. Like, it was even in that little Kickstarter song we did. Like,
Oh, really?
we have some demos, like 64 or something, some random number like that was actually very accurate. And
but, we just tried to work in a way that didn't end up being good. We're about a year after the Kickstarter, we all got together and listened to a big group of songs, and it was kind of a little sobering. It was kind of like, oh, maybe we don't have it. maybe we did not have what we thought we had. It was just kind of like, I remember listening to it all together in a room and being kind of like, oh, maybe this is not.
Maybe these are just demos. And
yeah, the energy just felt really like, oh.
Yeah,
2016
was trying to shoehorn the demos in. It was better.
Yeah. 2016 was kind of a tumultuous year, and 2017 was kind of a bad year for me personally, and it ended up just taking a long time to kind of refocus. After the big initial batch of songs, just really nothing really worked. I think there's maybe one song that has kind of carried over, maybe two. But after that, it was just kind of a question of sort of starting over and not going into it with like a preconceived idea of what we wanted to do. That's what I thought.
That works for me.
I wanted the new record to be. I wanted it to be a lot more like the first album, like a lot like quirkier and sillier. But we had a lot of hard time getting lyrics onto all those songs. It was just didn't. It felt forced or something.
Yeah, I think there was a moment that probably lasted like 6 months, like where we were. Yeah, it was just like, oh my god, we're trying to fit this like square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I definitely noticed that about your sound. I had it on my list of questions to bring up a little later, but I did notice that as you went from the Future record into Imaginary Friends, the themes were still fun and carefree, and there were still some humor elements of it, but you really kind of honed, and this is what I mentioned in the review of the album, you really kind of nailed down the sound of your band. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I was looking forward to Fantasizer, and I was curious which direction it was going to go, not really caring if it went more towards comedy or just continuing on Imaginary Friends. But I dig it. I think it's great.
Thanks. It's
a new place.
We're really happy with it now. It was just like 2.5 years ago that we were kind of like, oh God, what have we made? But now we're really happy with it, I think. Yeah.
Good. And
it kind of feels like Imaginary Friends was kind of like a new band. It was like a new version of the band. We were kind of like introducing we lost a critical band member who did all the music, and Imaginary Friends, I think, was us kind of trying to keep our hand, with those people a little bit, like try to do something a little bit new, but also keep the fan base. And I think this time it was a little less of, like, I don't want to say pandering because that's not right, but like we weren't really
give them what they want.
The band was gelled. We kind of had a new identity at this point, and yeah, we didn't feel like we needed to like make it particularly freeze poppy. We could push a little bit further,
Freeze Poppy being like the
the
original lineup, first couple years or whatever. I don't know. I feel like the first two albums are fairly similar, and then after that, every album is pretty different, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you as like a 36-year-old dad of a 3-year-old jamming in my car, I get a lot of better looks if I'm listening to one of your more meaningful songs than "Do You Like My Wang?" But that totally makes sense to me.
Nobody on this call is claiming responsibility for
Okay.
I'm curious what your 3-year-old's favorite Freezepop song is.
Honestly, she doesn't have a favorite one right now because she listens to the same fucking like 4 songs. One of them is one of my band's songs, which was really adorable at first, and now that is even like, oh my god.
It's like you get to be in the studio hearing it mixed every day.
Yep. Well, and so I don't do this to promote my music, but as soon as COVID hit, I had just recorded a new song with my band's new lineup, which had like 2 girls. It was this whole like human league kind of thing. And so then we got our COVID cash, and of course everybody made obnoxious Amazon purchases during that time period of quarantine. I bought 7 green screen kits and mailed them to everybody in the band. Like, you guys have to send me your music video footage. I'll make it work. And since the song came out with a video, and since my daughter learned what the YouTube channel is, it's not only just play TGIF by Katy Perry, Dad. It's like we have to watch the music video as well. And I'm expected to sing and dance as well. And my employer is expecting me to do my job in my dining room, which I'm not. So,
so many expectations.
Yeah, difficult times. So to go back to 65, 66 demos, I kind of wanted to talk about, and I'm not going to assume that there's a specific formula for how the songs are created, but Sean, do you hand a bunch of instrumentals out? Or does everybody kind of do the same thing?
That batch of songs was very much that. It was very much me working, and then I just kind of played everybody the demos that we had. But I don't think they're really like, I don't think we really have one set method of doing it, really. It's kind of, I don't know. It's a sort of liquid process. Mm-hmm. We've had days where we've just gotten together and written down song titles. We're just the 4 of us will just get together and doodle on giant pads, like what are some screwed up sounding song titles, and just for like a B-side or something, just throw around ideas like that. Like we there's a bunch of different ways that we've done it. I don't think there's really one.
Or we'll be like messing around before rehearsal, and someone will get their phone out and record a little snippet of something that like actually sounds good. Like there are little moments that
there's a lot of songs for this album. So the ones that aren't on the album, you're going to hear anyway. So at some point, so it's kind of a look into the creative process as well. It's like, oh, this song was reserved for this record. For what reason? You don't know. But, we try to have songs that complement each other on the main album. And then there's going to be a lot of other bonus stuff.
Good. Well, I look forward to that. And I was going to ask, and once again, I mean, you've been a band for 21 years, so there's not a single way that things are going to be done. But what immediately drew me to your band was the non-generic percussion side of it. If a good Freezepop song has drums that are always going to be a little different throughout the song, and it's those nuances, I think, that make it easier to listen to again and again and again without getting sick of it. I mean, even Depeche Mode has songs where I'm like, Mix it up, guys. Jesus, But
Casson, who's no longer in the band, was a real master of that, of coming up with a lot of, for the recordings, coming up with a lot of really syncopated kick drum parts and snare drum parts, and really, not quite glitchy, but doing a lot of polyrhythmic type parts. I guess we've tried to keep some of that. Yeah, he's great at it in the studio, but sometimes those songs can be a little bit tough to pull off live.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, those are fun to play live.
Our songs, like the stuff that we've done since he left the band, are maybe like a little bit more rhythmically straightforward.
Yeah, I've always hoped for, some crazy drum god to do like Pop Music's Not a Crime drum cover with all the double kick shit on it.
That song is exactly the song I always think of, because we went to go tour that record, and Casson didn't even do most of the touring because he couldn't really travel with us then, and so it was Bananas and Liz and I doing, I don't know, 80% of it or something, and some of those songs just didn't work live. It was like really tough. It was like the songs that are great to listen to walking down the street aren't necessarily the ones that kill it in the club,
That happens.
Yeah,
and
a lot of stuff like that on the third record, especially, which we were expected to be supporting, and it was like really tough to pull those songs off live. Like we ended up only doing a few of them.
That makes sense, though. I guess I had never thought about it like that. The Heat Lightning Hot song on the new record.
Yeah.
That fucking roto tom part, the super high pitched toms. When I first heard that, I was like, okay, so like, I listened to it again and again and again, and I don't know which one of you was like, yeah, at the beginning of the song. Is that you? Oh, somebody else.
Whisperer for that one.
Yeah, I take that as like, yeah, Freezepop is back, bitch, and then that song rips, and then there's an orchestral hit at the end, and then the other is like, yeah, that just fucking happened. So
yeah, I mean that song is very much that song is very much by design to be that song. Yeah.
Well, I was stoked.
It's very like, that's one of those songs where I think we were kind of like, let's not be afraid to just show off. Let's just it's one of those kitchen sink songs where like, just put every idea in, just go. Yeah.
More orchestral hits.
Right, and samples from 1990 are okay. Let's not be afraid of them.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's what makes Fantasizer so good, though, is because every time you flip to the next song, you get a completely different flavor profile of synth noises and tones, and not one song sounds identical sonically, and it just makes it a really fun experience. So.
Yeah, I think that was also sort of by design. I think we definitely took out a couple of songs that seemed like a little bit samey to other ones. And, we tried to first we'll put them far away on the record, and then you're like, no, one of those probably has to go. It's a little too close, because we do especially me. I do kind of have the same kind of chords that I sort of write with a lot, but that was a factor too, like keeping the music fresh song to song, like having the chord progressions, and the rhythms was a big one this time, having the rhythms be a little more loose and open. I think on our past records, the rhythms have been a little they've been very rigid, and I think on this one especially, we were doing less kind of quantizing of drum parts and sequencing parts. We were doing more letting stuff just be kind of played. And it just has more space to it, I think, for that. Like the rhythms just have more space to them. I don't know. That's what I think.
Oh, it's great. I love it. And as I said to most of you before I hit record, I had fallen in love with your band, and then found out a couple years later about the whole Guitar Hero thing, whereas I'm assuming a lot of people heard of you directly because of the video game side of things. So I kind of wanted to touch on that, how it all happened. And what do you hear from nerdy gamers?
I think there was a long time where it seemed like kind of a double-edged sword a little bit. We were already like signed in Europe and all this stuff before that kind of the game stuff happened, and it's sort of like it seemed to put us into a little bit of a category which I wasn't super comfortable with at the time. Now I'm just insanely grateful that any of it happened.
But yeah, you didn't play video games for like 15 years, right? You had an Atari.
I didn't know anything about the like sort of power of any of it. No, and we were also coming from right out of the '90s, where everything was like, you don't sell out, you don't do this, you know. We were very like '80s, really. We were coming out of an '80s mentality where it was all, you know, this is how you succeed and be an independent artist. So I didn't want to do anything that seemed like it was like selling out or whatever garbage I was thinking at the time.
Or short that, yeah.
But you know, I think we were kind of like a little more hip, and then all the game stuff happened, and we kind of lost like a perception of hipness, which was kind of disappointing for me at the time. Now I'm just, like I say, just grateful that any of that happened. You know, Casson worked for Harmonix on and off. And he was the one who kind of like jokingly suggested that they throw, you know, the silliest ever little synth pop song into one of the games, and they were like, okay, and that kind of changed the band for us. Just that one crazy decision.
Yeah, I mean, they're very supportive of their employees' bands.
Yeah,
and you know, it also kind of worked out for them because, you know, all their employees have bands, and then you could just put your employees' songs in the game. Have all this stuff that you don't have to like license and pay, you know, a shit ton of money for. We were, you know, in these sort of small games, and then like the games just sort of started taking off and getting larger and larger. And then like Guitar Hero happened. We're like, whoa, this is crazy. Like people are coming to our shows now. And then Guitar Hero 2 happened, and we're like, whoa, this is like a whole...
Yeah, the timing of Guitar Hero 2 worked very much in our favor, just in terms of the second game really kind of hit this like zeitgeist. I mean, everybody was just doing it, and we had like the perfect song in that game. It was like kind of hard to fit, you know, it was kind of hard to play. I mean, it's kind of hard to play on an instrument, but like the song that ended up in that game just ended up being the perfect little cherry on top of that zeitgeist of Guitar Hero Rock Band type games.
Yeah, well, I mean, Casson, you know, because he was involved with the development of the game, like he knew exactly like what kind of song would be super fun to play. So.
Yeah, but that song predated that.
I mean, back in the day, I was a Freezepop fan, like before I met any of these people or any of that. I was going to shows in Pittsburgh and then New York City, and it was when they were pretty new and, brand new, and they were part of like the Electro Clash scene. Like I think the first time I saw them was at this Electro Clash showcase at the Warhol in Pittsburgh when I was in college. And I was just like, you know, super starstruck. I have my little poster that I had like Liz and Casson sign afterwards.
Yeah, that's so funny.
But it is interesting because it's like, you think, you know, Electro Clash was this funny little cultural moment of, you know, for music, and I don't know, it didn't really like go beyond the music really. But video games like Guitar Hero and Rock Band was part of this larger fabric of kind of gamer culture that sort of grew and was coming together and kind of nascent in like, you know, the 2000s. And now it's kind of a whole different thing. But like, you know, when Freezepop played those early PAXs, like PAX it's like a culturally significant moment then. And, you know, PAX has changed over the years, but it's just interesting to be part of a culture like that in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get that.
To have like that it's like, all right, like, you know, you're part of a thing.
I was just curious, without being judgmental, but like I collect video games, so I've met my fair share of like weird men in parking lots of CVS pharmacies where I'm making an exchange over, you know, Facebook. I was curious, you know, how many like
for video games.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, you got the stuff, man. It's like, I got Mario Party 2. You got the $45. I'm like, yeah. I just always pictured this.
I got Mario Golf for GameCube if you want it.
I have it right there.
Oh, all right. Toadstool Tour.
I'll take it. What's your Venmo?
$45.
I don't know.
But anyways, as soon as I found out about this Guitar Hero phenomenon that I totally missed, and then said, I've heard this song so many times, how come it sounded new when I heard it, you know, when I found out what your band was, I just pictured this like this like 700-pound Mario shirt, sweaty guy coming up to Liz or Christmas and being like, "Hey."
I would say, by and large, our fan base is extremely polite and shy and courteous.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very,
they're
very
extremely
rare
nice.
that we end up.
People.
It's very rare that
We
we
love
end
you
up
guys.
in a situation with somebody who makes us uncomfortable. I can only think of a couple of times, really. But
That's good.
And
And
in my
I noticed
experience with video game people, it was like Freddy menfolk. In my experience, anyway.
well, and I guess Guitar Hero culture was a lot more mainstream than what I'm kind of picturing in my head. But that's cool. And yeah, I could tell a lot about your fan base just by following the Kickstarter and following the release of Fantasizer and just seeing the enthusiasm from everybody.
yeah, it was a big relief that everyone seems to like it, because now we can be
Yes,
like,
thank
"See,
you
this
for
is why it
being
took so
nice."
long." You know? Yeah. No, it's we couldn't be more grateful. I mean, we were really afforded a luxury opportunity to make a record, which, you know, outside of major labels doesn't really happen anymore. You know, we the luxury of being able to throw out a year's worth of work is unheard of at this point. So they
Can't make Fleetwood Mac
really
Tusk
helped us to
anymore.
go through. Sorry.
You can't make Fleetwood Mac Tusk anymore. Your label's not going to put up with it.
This is our Tusk. Yeah. No, but it really is. They really did. We couldn't be more grateful, just in the sense that they really did afford us an opportunity to really, really hone it and have it be exactly the thing that we wanted. And, you know, there were a couple times when people were like a little cranky about how long it was taking, and, you know, that's completely understandable. But but now everyone's been really, really gracious about it since it's come out. So that's really good for me, anyway.
Yeah, well, the album is killer, so nice work. I did want to ask, did you self-engineer and mix and do everything, Sean, or was this something that somebody else had taken over and finished?
Well, we didn't master it, but we did mix it here, yeah.
Great. Cool. And I wanted to comment on the music video as well. I guess both of them. I really enjoyed the one.
We had a couple people who helped us through the process of doing doing some vocals and stuff. We had a couple people, Danny Gold and Matt Gerard, were both kind of in and out helping with some of the kind of vocal production elements of it, but otherwise it was basically just us. Yeah.
I think you can hear that cohesiveness. I think that, as I said in the review, you know what you're doing at this point after 21 years, and I think the songwriting speaks for itself. But I wanted to talk about the production of the music videos. Was this something that was done guerrilla style during COVID, or did you get any chances to get started on it before the world shut?
The first one was done in the fall, or not in the fall, but in December. The Anchor was shot in December. So COVID wasn't really on anybody's radar too much at that time. We had a lot of plans for videos. We were hoping to get everything out much earlier in the spring and in the summer, but yeah, I mean, the Fantasizer video is absolutely a product of us trying to be, on green screens without the other people around. You know?
The majority of the artists that I've had the privilege of interviewing with this YouTube thing have all released albums this year, and have all had to find out exactly what the hell they were going to do with it, with no release show, no tour. So
very daunting.
Yeah. Did you hold on to it? You said you wanted to put it out in maybe the spring or summer, and it ended up coming out in October.
Well, we wanted to put it out in the spring. I think it became obvious that we weren't. I think my first mastering appointment was actually March.
Oh wow!
But it became apparent that it was not, the timing wasn't great, and I think the record we actually started mastering in April. But yeah, by the time we got into like mid-April, we were kind of like, well, we're not going to immediately put this out. It was such turmoil at that time.
Yeah,
everybody was just psychologically hosed. So we knew we had to wait. And
without sounding too earthy or something, I think that the mood of the album fits October really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
and it
you.
fits the times of oddly enough. It was not planned that way, but it does seem to fit the times a little bit.
Yeah, that said, we didn't want to put it out in November. It's it's a nice fall sounding record, but we wanted, more of a spooky season rather than scary season, which will be nice.
Yeah, we'll
we
see
really
how that
did it
season
like
turned out.
We really wanted a month between the release and election day at the least.
Yeah. No, and as as a fan of music and as a musician that's stuck in a house that's been cooped up since March, I realized how much I take for granted my me time, my earbud time, and how often that took place to and from work, at my job, or now I can put one ear in, and as long as my daughter's in a good mood, I can kind of listen to Moana and listen to an album at the same time, sort of. But for me now, it's like when I walk my stubborn ass 9-month-old dog who wants to pull me everywhere. That's the only chance I get.
Is he there?
Let's see him. We love
Is
dogs.
he there? Can we meet him?
Where's the dog?
Oh yeah, I can find a way to make this work. He's gigantic.
No rush.
Find the dog.
He's no, I took a picture of him today. Let's see if you can see this picture. This is my wife holding him on our floor, and they're the same length. They're as tall as each other.
9 months old? Uh-oh.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Oh man.
Oh, he's very big. Oh.
Yeah. And when we started quarantine, he was, he was like this big.
Aw.
I'm going to look at puppies tomorrow.
Oh, fantastic. He's
awesome.
What kind of dog?
Don't know.
Oh,
Are you going to a shelter?
Puppies.
We'll see.
Going to sales?
my wife and I had these 3 little Pomeranians forever, since we were dating, and they had just horrible health problems all the time, anything you could imagine. Every year it was another emergency surgery or something.
Oh.
And then one of them was really sick for 3 years, to the point that we were completely ready to say goodbye to him, and we were kind of secretly shopping for a new dog. At least deciding what kind of dog we wanted to get.
Let him see.
Well, he went blind, so that helped. But when little Miles finally passed away, we had a friend of a friend that was like, "Go to Humane Society in 10 minutes, and your dog is going to be there." And we didn't know he was going to be so long, but it's fine.
You keep asking, why are you so long?
I asked him that today, and he just looked at me with his dead eyes. I love him very much, but he has a very warped perception as to what being a dog is. He thinks that it means that you get to be pet 23 hours a day, and your owners are always home and they're always right by you.
Yes, it's going to be a weird adjustment for dogs when things go back to normal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or am
I wanted to talk.
lonely?
I wanted to talk about what you guys have planned for the future, and this is kind of a difficult question for any artist right now, given the uncertainty. But did you have anything planned, and anything that you wanted to accomplish with the new record, or perhaps giving me all those excess songs?
Rephrase the question.
What can we expect from Freezepop in the future here?
Well, I mean, we're talking about releasing singles from this record for quite some time. I guess that's probably all I should say about that. But we have a pretty good plan for even more than a year from now. So we have plans in place to do. I don't know, don't ask me where it's gonna be in 5 years, but we're kind of future proof for the next year or two, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, we still have the bonus album coming out, and then there's the remix collaboration album coming out. Those were both Kickstarter stretch goals. But yeah, we just have so much more music than that. So
yeah,
just gonna keep rolling it out. And, hopefully, eventually, one day we'll be able to play shows again. That would be nice.
If Freezepop is your thing, it's going to be a wonderful year for you.
I will say, kind of like the whole, there is like the element of the album release that feels kind of anticlimactic, just like not being able to play like, the big album release show,
Yeah.
Like the release was like you clicked a button.
Yeah. Yeah. So I miss that. I miss like, the event of it.
We did have a really lovely premiere on Geek Beat Radio, which was lovely. Like it was just
fun.
Nice. It was fun. It felt like a thing. But yeah, playing a show would be really nice.
Yeah.
Sadly impossible.
I had one of my buddies in my band that had started the band with me 9 years ago. He got like a super job for Amazon, and they like moved his whole family to Arizona. And we're a local band, but like he didn't get to play a last show. No. So we found out his last show was like some dinky one that we didn't, we don't even really remember much about. And that's just such a sad thought, to have this momentum going with a new record and not be able to just paste it everywhere on stage.
No, it's really interesting. We're friends with a lot of musicians, or I'm friends with a lot of musicians, and all they've been posting about since March is, oh my God, I can't wait to play a show again, and they're doing concerts on Facebook, and endless from musicians about how like their identity is messed up because they aren't on stage and everything. I'm like, and I just didn't have a speck of that. I was like, oh my God, great. We don't have to plan any dumb shows. This is great. We just concentrate on doing the appearances and stuff. But the day the album came out last week, 9 days ago, I was like, oh, now I get it. I really, really, really want to do a few shows right now. Like now I really, because now I want to like show off. I'm like, oh, now you guys get to hear this record. I want to go, melt faces in the Freezepop kind of gentle banger kind of way.
Yeah, we did a PAX show in January at PAX South, which was awesome. And I think about it now, and I was like, it was a fun show. It wasn't like Queen playing Italy with like 300,000 people and like, oh, this will be remembered in history. But it was a fun show, awesome crowd. And now I think about it, I'm like, the before times, that was so fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Little did I know.
The before times are depressing, but I think what's getting even worse is how normal like a driveway acoustic show or like a Facebook Live show, the fact that those are starting to feel, or even just like watching a band's live stream on YouTube, the fact that those, for me as a fan and a musician, are starting to feel real and not like dinky and half-assed, right, is kind of bumming me out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we should play an acoustic show, guys.
The fact that we've been thinking about it so much and have come up sort of empty, like all bands are probably just trying to crack the code on how to solve this problem, and it's just
put a drum machine
or not
in a red wagon and walk down Boston.
Okay.
We were planning on playing Porch Fest.
Ideas we've heard probably. Yeah. Somebody offered us to have us come play at a thing.
Yes, my friend Barat. He's like, we got a huge deck. Come play, and it was like, all right, and then never even like followed up on it. It was like, yeah, that's not happening. That didn't happen. It's just like
they asked us to come play a new studio that's opened with like a video studio, and I was like, well, it's a great concept, but we can't even rehearse. Like we're not like packing ourselves into like our attic to play these songs, like masked up or not. We're not going to be in quite that close quarters, at least not yet.
Yeah. I mean, we usually rehearse in the room that Sean is in right now. So
over there, though, that part of it, over there,
the spaceship part.
Spaceship, the less spaceship.
Yeah, it's not like super duper large.
Yeah. Yeah. So for us to rehearse is even like kind of impossible, and we need to rehearse. Like we need to do a couple runs before a show, and so it's just even just offers to do that kind of stuff. It's like, well, even if we decided we wanted to do it, we can't actually even really prep for it.
Yeah, that's true. At least on a positive note, we have a new excellent record by Freezepop. We have the promise of more material coming out
Yeah, our manager is actually saying we got to keep it positive, so I'm getting a message.
Who's our
What's
manager?
the weirdest thing that you were requested to do via the Kickstarter? I know you had some incentives in there.
We can't talk.
We made a lot of sandwiches.
Oh yeah, we got to make some sandwiches.
Yeah, sandwiches are probably the weirdest. I don't
Love
know.
it.
We've been doing a lot of cover songs for people. Those are pretty weird.
Mhm.
People gave us like 3 choices of a cover song to do. And the songs that people want are pretty confusing.
Oh, I really liked your Mystery Science Theater little stream thing that you did.
Oh,
Oh,
thank
thanks.
you.
That was I was trying to like deep dive before the interview, and that was one of the things I found that I had never even known was a thing, and it was super charming. Great job.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
I don't know. Was there a song? There was
We
a song,
didn't.
right?
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
a cover of the theme song.
I forgot about it,
right.
and then I watched the video like a month ago, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember doing that."
Yeah, okay. That really
That's great.
seems like a million years. Was that 2014? It seems like a million years. 2015.
Something like that. Yeah.
It does
Yeah,
seem
'cause-
a million years ago.
Their Kickstarter was right before our Kickstarter. Because I was like, hey, have you guys heard of Kickstarter? It's 2016. No.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
were,
we didn't.
their team was really helpful for us in terms of getting our Kickstarter off the ground too. Which was
Yeah.
nice. They gave us a lot
Nice
of advice.
folks.
Great. Well,
Nice.
this has been excellent. I really appreciate everybody taking the time out to chat with me today.
Yes, thank you
I'm
so much.
super stoked about the record. I'm looking forward to what you're able to pull off
Tell
during
everyone you know.
quarantine and past quarantine. But in the meantime, cheers and thank you.
Ah,
Cheers. Thank you.
Oh.
thanks for having us.
Oh, we're done. Oh, thanks, Mike.